Hi, FileMaker community. Here's a little type ahead question for you guys. And I'm having an issue where the type ahead speed on the iPad is so slow that it really isn't functional. And I've tried it two different ways. But first, I'll show you just the standard version on iPad Pro. And this is FileMaker Pro 17 on a Mac Mini, and an iPad Pro 12.9 inch with FileMaker Go 17. Without the little timer script trick, just normal, there's a trigger on here on Object Modify, and it just does a perform a quick find right there. Checks for no records found, and then all of this down here is just because I have two fields here for this on-off switch, so that's just UI stuff. That the crux of it is just the little perform quick find right here, and I've got a list here of about 8,000 items, and if I start typing, it's just as fast as you would expect. If you type correctly. And you can do a search by numbers here. Let's do 3, 4, 3, 7, 8. Right. So progressive search works great. Couldn't be happier with that. I also have, just for testing purposes, on the iPad here, I've got my on timer script, so that switches over to this search field version with an on timer trigger on Object Modify, but instead it runs this on timer, install on timer, and then you can set the timer length just for testing purposes. So setting it at, standard 0.3 seconds with the timer on. Everything's fine here, of course. Alright. Although I do get that last letter delete doesn't ever delete, which is probably a problem in the way I've got it coded, but let's try something. I'm just typing, just about as fast as I see. I'm hitting delete key. And when we get to that last one, I'm not in the field anymore. And then as soon as I click into it, it's gone. So I think it's the last iteration of the trigger doesn't clear the field. All right. So now I'm going to pause here for a second and let's see, flip over to, if I can make this work, QuickTime, over to my iPad. I don't know, I might have to pause. There we go. Alright, so here we are on my iPad. Same script. And so now I'm tapping into the search here, and I'm going to type peanut. Now this is with without the on timer script. All right, and you can see typing peanut as fast as I can. All I get in the field is PT. It just can't keep up, right? This is something that we see a lot with type aheads like this and on modified triggers over like a server or on a LAN or WAN, and so usually this little on timer trick does the trick. It slows down the input enough, but even that's with the 0.3 second delay, and if I make the delay a little bit longer, say a half a second, which is really not ideal because the users really want to see the type ahead result, as it's typing. And if you go to a half second, a fast typist, see, I can't even. So in order to get this to work, I have to basically type at this speed, P-E-A-N-U-T. All right, so I'm just wondering, has anyone else come across this? I don't think it's a bug, but it's just sort of a issue that I'm not quite sure how to solve. So I just would appreciate y'all's input. This iPad Pro's got a really, pretty fast processor. And if you can see, let me jump back over to my screen here, if I can make that work. Okay. So yeah, this Mac Mini, so not a very fast processor. It's a 1.4 gigahertz Intel Core i5 with 8 gigs of RAM. And of course the iPad Pro 12.9 inch, I believe it's got like quad cores. Let me just double check that. But in any event, there's not much to this script, right? There's just perform quick find. And incidentally, I've also tried to change this to just a standard find script. Of course, that's limiting because I have to, know what fields I'm going to be searching on. And this is much more dynamic, of course, for my purposes, in case I want to add different fields to this list view and not have to alter the script. But same results. Doesn't really make a difference. The speed of type ahead on the iPad is just not usable in its current form. So I'm just wondering if you guys have any suggestions, and I appreciate your feedback. Thanks a lot.